All right, everyone. Welcome to week 7 of the League of Superheroes recap. So let's get right into it because I want to make this one kind of quick and to the point. Um, First game, we're going to go to me and JD. So I actually ended up winning this game by like 40 points. JD just did not have a great game at all. Um, I really didn't have that great a game either. Part of that is due to the fact that Bortles got benched and it was absolutely horrendous. He had 1 point. A normal quarterback performance probably around like 15 or 16, which would put me at 120, which is considered a good week. So I'm taking that into consideration because the rest of my team, other than Bortles, played pretty well. I had Landry on my bench who had 20 points, who actually is now traded, by the way, most likely if it doesn't get vetoed. Um, and if I started Trubisky over Bortles, I mean, that would have been a lot better. I'm having a tough time trying to figure out Trubisky here because I don't think he's that good of a quarterback, but he's the ninth ranked quarterback in the league with a bye week in his um, in his schedule already that happened. So I mean, he is really playing very well over the last 3 weeks to the point where I might have to start him. Um, Looks like JD had very bad luck with Gronk being out, Rodgers being out on a bye, Russell Wilson being out on a bye, Nelson and Lockett. That's a lot of his team, and with Hyde being traded, that's also a lot of some points he's missing. So he was really down a lot of his better players. But not, I mean, not great to have the two quarterbacks that he drafted pretty high have the same bias. But whatever. That's what happens. But that's just kind of bad luck. Surprised he's stuck with both of them for the entire season so far, and I'm assuming through the trade deadline, but we'll see. Um, so we got Fawad and Mo. Um, Fawad wins this one by a large margin. He scored 157 points, and it's pretty safe to say that Fawad, I would say, is the best team in the league so far through 7 weeks. He's been the most consistent. Um, and he even had some of his better players like T.Y. Hilton and Kittle on his bench as well. So I mean, he could have had an even better week than he had. Um, a lot of that helps is with the Broncos defense scoring an unbelievable 33 points, which is insane. Um, I mean, Gurley is right now in historical, uh, I guess, territory for the way he has played this year. Just his lowest output is 22 points. It's just insane. He's getting into like '06, '07, like LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander mode right now. It's just like becoming one of the best fantasy seasons of all time as we speak right now. And everyone else on this team just it's the same thing every week when you're talking about Fawad. Everyone on this team just produces. Mo had a pretty solid week. He just ran into the wrong team. Odell finally did something for him. Good start by him by starting Benjamin Watson. He had no really bye week players. He did trade for Dalvin Cook, who did not play, hasn't played basically since week 2, which is insane. Tyler Boyd didn't do anything. Good draft pick by him for Tariq Cohen. I kind of targeted him a little bit um, in fantasy drafts. I just never pulled the trigger on him, and he's had a really good last 3 weeks by him. So yep, Mo drops to 3-4 and out of the playoff picture for now. Um, got George and Kaleem. This is a very close matchup. Um, Surprising move. I don't want to like question anyone, but I just didn't really like the Bills' defense against Colts this week. I was looking at them in the pickups. I just didn't really make any sense because the Colts have such a good offense, especially playing at home and with the confidence of playing at home versus a lesser team like the Bills. I thought they were going to show out. So basically, if he started almost any other defense, possibly. I mean, not any other defense, but maybe a different decision would have helped him win this game since he only lost by 2.5 points. Um, good pickup by him to get Jameis Winston though. He's been playing pretty well last 2 weeks since he basically became the starter. Latavius Murray has been a big part of his team the last 2 weeks as well, since he's been the starter with Dalvin Cook out. It's gonna be interesting to see when Dalvin Cook eventually comes back. I think how they're gonna split up the carries. Um, QT did not do much for him. I really liked him when I was watching him against Dallas that Sunday night game. But since that game, he really hasn't done much. He's been injured for some of it, which is nothing you can do. But Diggs has had 2 quiet weeks in a row, which has hurt him. Maybe a bigger game coming against New Orleans. We'll see. Uh, Khalim, I'm trying to look at this right now. Yeah, so he won 110 points with Keenan Allen and Mixon really not doing much, and Golden Tate really not doing that much for him. His big performances really came from Njoku, who's been playing really well with Baker Mayfield since he became a starter. He's been playing a lot better. Saquon is just money at this point. He's not quite on Gurley level, obviously, but he is the second ranked running back, and he is as almost as consistent as Gurley. He's always going to put up. I mean, so far he's always going to put up at least 18 or 17.8 points. So great, great draft pick by him, and we'll talk about more about the playoff picture because he right now currently is the 6th seed based off points. We got Yates and SN. This was a pretty good matchup record-wise going into this game. But after this, it's clear that Yates is emerging as one of the better teams in the league as well. He's had a really good couple last weeks, and he did this without his best player, arguably his best player on the bench with Melvin Gordon. Mahomes is putting up unbelievable numbers. He's a first-ranked quarterback this year. Sanders has had a very good year. I mean, he's the third-ranked wide receiver. You would have thought that. Uh, you know, when you think of Emmanuel Sanders this year, but he hasn't had a bye, which helps, and he's for the most part put up decent games, and as if you're consistent with those games, eventually it'll add up to the point where you're in the conversation for a top 5 wide receiver um, in in fantasy. Edelman has been pretty solid since he's come back. Nothing too spectacular, but I mean he's always providing consistent points. The Rams defense really helped him as well. He did this with Gordon on his bye. That's pretty good. SN looking right now. So Juju and James Conner was on a bye, and I think Thompson was out for that game. So that's a big portion of his team. With Larry Fitz not being consistent at all this year, he really had to kind of dig deep for any type of lineup here this week. He got absolutely destroyed by Zeke not doing anything, which I didn't even notice that. Wow, he really did not do anything this week. That killed him with Galladay, Snead, and McCoy being hurt basically in the first quarter or only after the second carry. Just, a culmination of bad luck and, bye weeks for SN. That's what happens when you get a 77-point performance. So unfortunately for him, he drops to 3-4. Next game, which is one of the most surprising, I guess you could say, considering the Gunslinger, Raheel drops 160 versus Hassan. Essentially beats him by almost 100 points. Hassan's usually on the other side of this because he's had the huge performances of probably, I would say, out of the top 5 best scoring weeks, he probably has at least 2 of them. And Gunn probably has a top 3 scoring performance this year. I think Hassan had like a 163 in there. I wish there was a way to look. Maybe there is, but I'm pretty sure Hassan has the highest with at least 163. Gunn just had across the board just an unbelievable week with Kareem Hunt, Cam, Kerryon Johnson, who I tried to trade for, Gordon. Jeffrey has been amazing since he's come back. I mean, other than week 5, the 3 out of the 4 weeks he has been in top tier wide receiver one category when you start him. Kenyon Drake is basically off and on. You never know what you're going to get from him, but 2 out of the last 3 weeks he is, even the week 6 he still put up kind of 8 points. So I guess he's not unstartable, but maybe he's becoming more consistent. Um, there was absolutely nothing Hassan could have done here. Just looking, there's just nothing. Um, Breda kind of screwed him over. It looks like Breda's hurt. Just and Bilal Powell out for the year as well. Unfortunate for my Jets. Just having bad injury luck. Last game, Bill versus AK. We have Bill. It drops to 1-6, the worst record in the league. But we'll look. It's something. There's a factor really funny that he's still the leading scorer of his division, even with the worst record in the league. That's just unbelievable. This week he has no excuse here. He only scored 76, and he lost to a team only scoring 93. And this is with Marlon Mack on the bench. Nick Chubb, very good pickup by AK. I went to go pick him up once Hyde was traded, and AK swooped him up, I think 20 minutes before I went to go get him. So I think he might have had the beneficiary of Norwegian time over mine because I was at work, and yeah, I don't know. I might have to put an asterisk over that. I'm just kidding. But Kamara has not been the same since Ingram's come back. Now you can attribute that to, you know, maybe bad matchups because Baltimore has a tough. Obviously, playing Baltimore is always tough. But his matchups aren't getting any easier coming up. I mean, you got Minnesota defense, the Rams, the Philly defense is still pretty good. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Kamara does going forward. Trying to think if there's anything else that stands out. Nothing really. I mean, Bill just got destroyed by the Michelle injury, and Corey Davis and Rudolph just did absolutely nothing for him at all. Tyreek Hill still continues to be a great option at wide receiver. He's kind of more consistent than he has been in recent years. I mean, he'll have his 35-point week, his 38-point week, but also have 3 weeks in a row where he'll combined not scored to get to 35 points. So I mean, he's still been a little inconsistent, but he's still the second-ranked wide receiver, so love to have him on your team. But you would still love to see him kind of do with what Hopkins does, where it's every week, you know what you're getting. So let's take a quick look at the standings. Essentially, your 5 playoff teams based off record is Fawad. This is in no particular order, I guess, because I guess you got to look at the points, which I guess we could do as well. But Fawad is definitely your number 1 seed. Then you have 2 or 3, 5 and 2 teams with AK, Yates, and George. I know George is definitely the last of those 5 and 2 teams because you'll see based on points. And then you got Fawad, AK, Yates, George, and then also based off record, Hassan. Those are the top 5. And then based off of points for the 6th spot, it is still Kaleem. I believe that was the case last week with 791 points. Taking a quick look of who would be next in line for that 6th spot, it would be Gunn, who was not that close last week, but with a 160-point performance, he was really put himself back in the thick of things. He's still only now 21 points behind at 770. I'm still in the thick, I guess, with I'm 30 or less than 30 points behind. So this swings from week to week. It looks like every team is with this point system. I mean, a lot of teams are really much still. Even Bill at 1-6, he is within 40 points, 45 points. That could change in a week. So I kind of like this new format. I like the. I was kind of skeptical at first with the four divisions, but since it's only based off of who you play twice, and it's still the top five teams make the playoffs, and then the sixth team is based off of points, I think that's a very fair way of doing things, and that was a great addition by our commissioner Fawad, who is the best team in the league. So I'm not sure these are updated or not. These power rankings, I'm not. I don't think so. I didn't see him post in the chat. So make sure uh, we get our waiver. Actually, no, the waivers already happened. So I hope everyone has a great week, and this is really heating up. We are in. Just take a look. We are in week 7, so we are more than halfway through the fantasy football regular season. And here's a quick look at the matchups for next week. So, yep, that's it, everybody. I hope everyone has a safe week, and I'll see you next Tuesday or Wednesday for the next recap.